Hello. Most bikes feel slow, not because they're old, but because nobody does these three simple things. Now, all these things I'm going to show you don't need any special tools. It takes about 10 minutes. And this is what it looks like just before we do anything rattly and clunky. And look at this, when I spin the wheel, it just stops again. And here's a preview of what it is going to look like when it's finished. So this is the finished article. You can see the wheels running nicely and the gears are changing nicely. First fix then, first and foremost, the brakes. You can see that the wheel's not going round properly, the brakes are rubbing. Normally, that's due to the brakes not being aligned properly. If we have a closer look here, you can see that this one is pressing against here. So it's permanently rubbing. So we need to bring the whole lot back across. And it's pretty simple to do. On these brakes, you can see there's a little screw hole, and that gives you tension. So it gives tension on this spring, and there's one on both sides, and tension on this spring. Now what the springs do is they pull the brakes outwards, and then the levers pull them back in. So the spring's pulling it outwards. This one is too far out. I need to slacken off this spring, and then on the other side I need to tighten the spring. And this particular one is just a little crosshead screwdriver. I can take a little bit off there and add a little bit on the other side, and immediately I can feel that pulling back across again, and immediately the wheel's able to spin again. Now I need to double check by pulling the brakes on and off and making sure that it doesn't start jamming again. The other thing to look out for is when the brake blocks are rubbing on the tyre. Now that's easy enough to do. Most have a little screw or a nut here. You undo that, you can move the block around until it's lining up with the rim when it presses. That's quite important. Keep an eye as well in case the blocks are starting to wear out and you might need to put some new ones in. But as it is, this bike is now running much more smoothly. And I should say different types of bikes have different types of adjusters. Sometimes they're a little screw like this, most often they're a little screw like this. Sometimes you have to take it apart and move a little spring round. On a Brompton, there's a little screw that goes in. They're sort of that shape. There's a little screw in the top. You screw and it just tilts them. If you're unlucky enough to have the old sort of horseshoe shaped ones, then a spanner at the back and a spanner at the front, you can move them from side to side, and they're much more difficult to work with. But there we are, fix one. So the next thing to think about is the chain. Chains get dirty and old and they can start to drag, and surprisingly enough you can use something like 10 watts through your chain only. So let's have a look at making that nice and lubricated. So lubricating the chain, really important. More is not necessarily more. If you put too much on, the chain is going to be wet, and what's going to happen is, first of all, you can get light oil flying onto the rims, and obviously brakes don't really mix with oil very well. Plus, what happens is you pick up lots of dirt and dust off the road, and it forms a sort of a grinding paste that gets into the chain and slowly wears it out much quicker. So by keeping the chain lubed properly but not too much, you extend its life and make it easier to pedal. Now when you're lubricating a chain, we're not lubricating the whole thing. What we need, you see in here, there are little rollers, and inside there are where the sort of the bearing surfaces are. So I don't need to get the whole thing covered in oil. What I need to do is get oil down these gaps, and it'll flow under these shiny rings and into the main sort of bearing area. Several ways of doing it. These are probably one of the easiest. Some very light oil with a little tiny stick on it, and all you do is dab it on each one of these little shiny surfaces, give it a dab of oil so that you can see the oil run inside. It's all about lubricating the inside. Now when you're doing this, make sure to mark where you start with a pen or something, because otherwise you'll go around several times. Now the easier and lazier way to do it is to use a spray can. So this is some very light oil. It's new stuff I'm trying. It's called Rocket. I don't know if it's any good, but I'll give it a try. You could use anything. You can use things like WD-40, but WD-40 is not a brilliant lubricant, but it's better than nothing. So all you do, take your spray, and I'm going to spray it on the chain where it meets the cog. So I just turn the handles round. As it goes round, I just gently spray, and that will get into all of the bearings. And I'll let that settle for a while, then I'll clean it off. Giving it a minute or so to soak in, and then I can just take a cloth, bottom here, and then just gently turn the pedals around, take off all that excess, because as I said, I don't want it spraying up onto the rims and making the brakes not work. Now sometimes you'll get a stiff link in the chain. You can always spot it because it happens when you go over the little wheels in the back here, and you'll see it go click, click, click. Now this one's okay because I've been looking after the chain, but you'll hear it, you'll go click, click, and it means when you find it, go around a few times till you find where it's going click, click, find the link, and you'll find you can twist it, and the one link that's stiff will be like difficult to work. So all you do then, you get your WD-40, you spray it all over, and then you work it back and forth, put a bit more on, and you should find it comes loose. If you can't get it to come loose, probably time for a new chain. Fix number 3, gear indexing. Now you find lots of people, you hear them driving around and the gears are giving it that click, 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 fall in between. And that's because the indexing is not set properly. And here we are, it's all about where the tension is on the cable. Now the cable comes down here and into here. Now they all have adjusters. This one's got an adjuster here on the actual unit. Sometimes they will have an adjuster at the front. So the first thing to do is throw it down into the top gear. So in this case it's 7th, the smallest cog. Now if it won't go onto the smallest cog it has here, then either it's because the cable's too tight or it's because it's not adjusted properly. Now I'm not going to go into it here, but there are 2 little adjuster screws and they set the end stops. You'll find the 2 and be randomly placed somewhere around on the derailleur. So one of them stops it from coming too far this way and throwing the chain off into the frame, and one of them stops it going this way and throwing the chain off into the wheel. And so it won't go into 5th, and assuming the end stop's okay, then you just loosen the cable, which means turning it clockwise, yeah, and that should loosen the cable, and you should find the cable should be reasonably loose. But on the bottom sprocket, the cable, you can see it here, should be quite loose. Next step, go back to the front, put it into the next gear up. So having clicked it into the next gear up, this cable should now be tight because it's holding all the force on the derailleur, and with a bit of luck when I turn the pedals it should drop up into the next gear, which it has done quite nicely. Now if it won't go into the next gear, then it means the cable's not tight enough, and you just add a click onto this or the one at the front and try again, and eventually you'll find that it goes into gear. And to show you how that works, I've loosened off the cable now, so I've now moved it into the next gear. The cable's fairly tight, but it's not going up, look, it's not changing gear. It's making the clicky noise, but it's not changing. So being careful not to get my fingers in the spokes, I'm just click by click, tightening the cable, and there we go, it's gone in. That is now set right. And just to be sure, I'm going to try it with the next gear and the next gear and the next gear. And as I go around, I'm pressing each one in and it's nicely going in. There we are, staying in nicely, and I'll just double check that it comes down again. There we go, that's come down 2 gears quite nicely. So what happens if you find it's not indexed? Even after you do that, you might find some of the top gears aren't going in properly. And there are several reasons that could happen. One is most often a problem, is that you've got a different controller at the top and it doesn't match the cogs and the derailleur at the bottom. They should be of the same type. You've got a bit of trouble if that's happening. So looking at it from underneath, if all else fails, the one thing you can do, you see this cog, this nut here that holds the cable in place. If it's not indexing properly and you really can't get it to work, if you undo this and bring this cable in on the other side, so instead of coming in on this side, it comes in on that side, and that will give you a slightly different moment arm, and in some cases, not all, but some cases, that will fix your indexing problem. So that's the 3 fixes done. I'm going to give you an extra bonus one because I'm feeling generous, and that's all about the tyres. Now the old way of thinking is that you blow up the tyres as hard as you possibly can, and normally there's a maximum pressure on them. These are a bit perished, so probably explode if I put them to the maximum pressure, but that's what people used to do, maximum pressure, and if it's harder then it's going to run smoother. But that's not necessarily the case. So assume this is a bike wheel running along. Now something really smooth like a velodrome, no problem, you want really hard tyres and it's perfectly fine. But that's not what the real world's like. The real world has bumps, in this case simulated by this tent peg. And as soon as you start to hit bumps, what's happening is the wheel is bumping up and over, and that bumping up and over action takes some of the energy out, using the energy to lift it up, and it's falling back down again. And this time I've got the same problem, but I've got a tyre as represented by this old sponge. So this time, as I roll over the bump, I'm not feeling it at all. It's been absorbed by the tyre, and then because the tyre's springy, released again as it comes out. So actually it's much more efficient, much more energy efficient. There's no rising and falling of the actual bike, the actual wheel. It just rolls over it. So on a normal everyday road, you're much better with a slightly softer tyre. Don't believe me? Let's try an experiment. So I've got a Brompton wheel pumped up to its full pressure, and I'm rolling it down. I'm going to mark it with this sponge. And to be properly scientific, I'm going to do it several times, 5 or 6 times. I'm going to mark with the sponge the time when it is at its maximum. So you can see there, it's just about reaching the sponge. Now this time I've let half the pressure out, and you can see it's gone beyond the sponge. And just to prove that it's not a fluke, I'm doing it several more times. Now I think you'll agree that's a pretty freaky result. Not what's expected at all, but it's there. And it's probably about, on average, it was being about a wheel length further, which is over that short distance, probably about 10%, maybe more. So it's not inconsiderable. So what does that mean for your tyres? Well, look at the pressure on the tyre. That's too high. You want to take a bit off. So if you're lucky, your bike will be in the internet somewhere and it'll tell you what to use, but it also depends on your weight and the type of bike and the rims, etc. Probably a good rule of thumb, take the maximum and then take some off. Maybe 10%, maybe 20%. Experiment, maybe do some time trials, see what works best for you. But of course the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So this is me on the bike before I touched it. And the course is I'm going to go off down here, round the corner, down the hill and back again. It's probably about a mile, and I'm going to time it. So here I am coming back, and I've been giving it some just to try and make the time trial fairly equal. I'll do it for both. Coming in now to the driveway and ready for the time. Well, that was the first one, and that was hard work. Right, let's give it another go, this time with it all done. And here I am coming back in again, well ahead of the peloton and swinging in. Well, that was a lot easier, a lot easier. So if you've done all these things and your bike feels better and easier to pedal, well, that means you're a bike mechanic now, doesn't it?